And I've had this debate when people are like, they want to use this award, premium cabin is so important. Premium cabin is so important. But they have to position to like JFK and they're flying to London or Amsterdam. And I'm like, think about it for a moment, okay? Like just ponder it for a moment. The amount of trouble to position to JFK and then to leave like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours between the flight to then get a lie flat seat for a flight that maybe is 6 hours, of which maybe if all of the stars align, you get 4 hours of sleep. And that's like, if you're really lucky, you get 4 hours of sleep.
Welcome to Travel Stories with your hosts, Tom Kim and Trevor Mountcastle. This episode, we welcome back Michael Trager of TravelZork, ZorkFest, and probably 100 other things. Michael, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. 100 other things.
Well, I mean, you have the British Airways Gold Guest List Facebook group. I think you've started a handful of others. You do the luxury travel, although that might be under your TravelZork brand.
That's TravelZork Travel.
There you go, TravelZork Travel.
The only thing I haven't done yet is an OnlyFans. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm right for that. I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like we missed an opportunity of doing another YouTube recording.
You heard it here first, right?
There we go.
Oh, is there any miles and points influencer or content creator who also has an OnlyFans?
I don't know. I feel like the eligible population would be fairly small, just being fair about it.
Okay, we'll get off that subject. I don't want you to lose all your listeners. We're going down a path where there's like no
redemption.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is sometimes where I go with things. It's like I was telling somebody, I make my co-host laugh so much, but I am so excited the next time to go to Vegas. I'm actually going to a show.
Oh, what show will you be going to?
The Empire Strips Back. It's that new parody. It's that new burlesque parody about Star Wars.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
You see, you're just like speechless.
I am. I mean, I'm left wondering what the sequel will be. The Pole Awakens?
Oh my God, that's so funny though.
See, this is why we should stay away from humor and some of those other topics, because they are not our AOR. They are not our niche. Trying to bring it back to what is our niche. There's a city that binds all three of us that we've all been to in the last, I'd say, 8 months, 8 or 9 months. And you were there most recently, Michael. I don't think that was your first time, but it seemed like you were really experiencing Madrid for what, almost a week.
It was a weekend trip.
It was a weekend trip, and you flew back on like a Wednesday or a Thursday.
It was a longer weekend. You see, I have a theory. I have a lot of theories about travel. And one of the theories I have with weekend trips is that you have to extend them a little bit longer, because otherwise it's just too short of a trip. So it was a Thursday night departure to a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's about the perfect amount of time, I think, especially for Madrid.
Yeah. So I guess you're going to want the miles and points lowdown on a couple of things on what we did on this trip, because I wasn't exactly sure, because I'm horrible at planning my own trips because I'm so busy. The impetus for this trip was the fact that American Airlines was running some great sale fares in December, right around my wife's birthday, actually. And I was able to pick up a Miami to Madrid to Charlotte to PBI round trip for just about $500.
And this is economy.
Yes, this is economy.
That is very good now. That would have been very good 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I was about to say it. And there's going to be the story about this because this is what's so great about travel stories. And of course, anyone else I tell this to, this is so interesting when you tell the story to any of my casino people or to anyone else that I know, and they're so amazed at the $500 airfare. But you say to any miles and points person, they go, was it in business class? Everybody else is like, that's so cool. That's amazing. Was it in business class? Well, it was on American Airlines. Obviously, Miami, Madrid, Charlotte. PBI gives that away. And it was in economy. It was actually the best kind of economy ticket. Basic economy. Ooh, sexy, right? It's really sexy. And since I happen to be married to a ConciergeKey, I highly suggest to anybody who's looking for a partner that they find a partner who's ConciergeKey. Really makes all the difference in a marriage.
I think it's Morgan Housel, is it? The Psychology of Money. Sam and Robert on the main show are big fans of him. And I've been listening to his podcast, and he says one of the most important decisions that you will make is who you marry. So apparently, including in that decision is that you need to marry somebody that is a CK or a ConciergeKey.
That's right. So you need this is right up there, right? I mean, that's right up there.
Yeah.
So of course, the second question the miles and points people ask, was it in business class? I'm like, no, it was basic economy. And then they go, well, did you list for a system-wide upgrade and did it clear at time of booking? And I'm like, no. Why? Because American is not going to clear, even in the winter season, their flights to Madrid in advance. It's rare. I mean, it's very rare these days to get system-wide upgrades to clear at time of booking anyway. So there you have it. And it was looking really, really, really good up until a few days before. It was still at about like 4 seats or 5 seats for sale in business class. The return was beautiful. The return stayed 7 seats for sale, pretty much so up till the end. And of course, the day of the flight, it mysteriously went to 0 seats in business class for sale, which you never like to see. That's I don't remember the exact scheming on it or whatever. I do remember afterwards that I was not disheartened because I love pilots and I think they deserve all the pilot joy. But I did notice while deplaning that there were 3 or 4 pilots in business class in uniform. Those look like contract situations there. So what happened is there were 3 or 4 concierge keys on this flight, inclusive of my wife. Because we knew by the upgrade list. So we were number 2 and 3 on the upgrade list because I follow her status when we're booked together on the same PNR. So there was one other concierge key on the upgrade list who must have had more loyalty points than my wife. So he was number 1. Then we were 2 and 3, and he got upgraded. But then they did put us into premium economy with 2 seats next to each other right before boarding, which we knew was going to happen. So there were, I thought, at least 5 or 6 seats available in premium economy. We knew we were going to be high on the upgrade list. We knew we were going to fall back to premium economy, which I can live with. I don't want to admit, but I can live with it. And of course, we also knew that since it was the early flight, well, it wasn't so much that it was the early flight, but we knew we were going to have dinner in flagship dining in Miami. So we did Laurent Perrier and dinner in flagship dining. So that was totally fine. So we were well watered before the flight. And they had also put notes when we got to flagship about, sending notes to the gate to make sure that they knew that it was a concierge key that was there, because they have this, American has this stupid rule. You supposedly have to be at the gate, but nobody could ever tell you if you need to be at the gate. And of course, Ellen and I are like, we don't really want to hang around the gate area, when we can hang around in flagship dining. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, of course, in our usual style of getting there, we literally got there before they were ready to do boarding, perfectly before. We saw the gate agents and they said, don't worry, we're on top of it. And we were like, cool. And so we got into line, which is honestly, it doesn't excite my wife at all because she's super humble, but nothing makes me more excited than being able to like tell the people who are all queued up, who are group one boarding, to get out of the way, please. Coming through.
Do you know who I am?
And Ellen's gotten really good at it. I let her go in front of me. It's better. She's a woman because because always some guy looking at you like, well, I'm in zone one. And she'll be like, well, we're ConciergeKey. So like we're before you. So get out of the way.
Step aside, peasant.
Step aside. We've got, well, actually, here's the best part of it. When somebody's on a PNR with you and you get upgraded or whatever the zone, you both have the same boarding group. You both wind up with the same boarding group. At least I think that's always the way it worked. It doesn't work that way with ConciergeKey. Even though I'm on the same PNR, Ellen always winds up as boarding group CK, and I'm always boarding group 1. So the companion is never boarding group it is on a boarding pass. Instead of saying group 1, it says CK on it.
Oh, interesting. So I guess the best you can get is group 1 unless you're CK.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm just spouse. Gotta follow around. And then just as we were boarding and we were doing our boarding, they ran over and gave us our new boarding passes for premium economy. They actually told us to board. They told us to board and they would get us and they would move us to the premium economy seats, but they had them there. We got settled in premium economy. And my major observation of flying premium economy is I don't really like flying premium. So the main takeaway of premium economy is I don't really like it. I haven't flown
you
premium
really
economy.
like it, or you don't really like? I got confused for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay.
Okay. I don't find it comfortable. It's because it's the number one. I mean, I think a premium economy is a brilliant cabin, and it's the most, in theory, at least in my observation, because so many premium economy cabins are so small, it's a very, very hard cabin to sell because it tends to sell out very quickly. I had one example, which is a really good example, when Air France started Phoenix Charles de Gaulle. I think that was a 3-time-a-week service when they started it last June from Phoenix. You've got 3 Air France planes a week, which have a premium economy cabin that has like 20 seats in it or 18 seats or some small number of seats.
That is a very small cabin.
Yeah. And I remember this really well because I booked a family of 6. Try finding space on a flight with a family of 6 in premium economy. Look how few seats there are. When you think of it as a percentage of seats in the plane, business class, you got 30, 40, 50. Economy class, you've got 140 to 180 or whatever. And now all of a sudden you're going to premium economy where you have like 16 to 22 or something like that. So premium economy is actually really, really sort of a pain, if you ask me, because especially if you've got more than one person, it's really hard to find it. And especially if the flight operates, that's the only nonstop to Paris from Phoenix, that operates only 3 days a week in June, that's not going to be easy to find seats on.
What kind of price premium does the premium economy get over economy, given how small that cabin is? Have you observed it? Putting you on the spot.
So just last night, I was just pricing Phoenix to Tokyo with obviously a stop at LAX, and the least expensive, like normal economy class seats, not a basic economy class. In this case, the economy class sucked because the price for economy class was like $1,800. And we're talking here only good flights, not the outlier flights with like the 7-hour connection. Economy was like 18 and premium was like 3,000. So I find it's usually about a factor of 2 or a factor of 3. I recently priced this week and ticketed somebody from JFK to London and then Paris back to JFK, Virgin and Delta being the Paris to JFK. And that in economy class, regular economy, not basic, was like $983. I remember that. Basic economy was like $700 and premium economy was about $2,500.
Oh, well, that's a very big difference.
That is, yeah.
And Delta's cabins are usually a little bit bigger, right? Because 20 seats is only like 2 rows or something of premium economy?
Yeah.
I feel like Delta or their wide bodies probably have at least 3 or 4 rows of premium economy?
Yeah, that's something like that. Air France is very small. I don't remember. It's definitely small. Like maybe I'm slightly exaggerating because a lot of times you have like 2, 3, 2. So think if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 7 seats across.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
7 times 4 rows is 4 rows is 28.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in that
Mm-hmm.
range of somewhere between 20 and 30 seats, which is pretty small a lot of times. And also then American is like 242, right? And I forget how many rows. So the 777 American has more, and Delta I forget. And also it varies so much on the aircrafts, whether how many seats they have.
Yeah,
And
because I
also
think
the other
you have
thing is,
like maybe like 9 across on a 777.
I thought it was 8 across for everybody. I thought it was
Okay.
Wait,
242.
economy seats or
Oh,
or, or
Premium.
economy.
premium?
Economy is no. Premium is 8. Economy
Yeah,
is 9 or 10
10.
if you want to do high density. British
No.
Airways does high density.
I thought American had toyed around with high density on the 77W at one point. I don't know.
Maybe they did.
I don't think
Well,
I've ever.
I
I
don't.
don't think I've been that far back in an American 777
Well, that's what
in a long time.
like I'm saying. I'm complaining about economy class. I'm complaining about premium economy. I'm not even really thinking about what it's like in economy class.
Yeah, but and I've talked to Trevor about this all the time. Especially on the way to Europe from the East Coast. I mean, how long a flight really is that? It's not like from DC, like let's say London or something across the pond. I mean, wintertime, you could have like 5 or 6 hour flight,
This is a great segue into part of it in the miles and points community. And what you're saying is absolutely right. Unfortunately, Miami's a little bit longer. Like Miami to
Right,
Madrid
true.
is like 8 hours. But this is a point because I used to fly Boston, Amsterdam a lot, and then Boston,
Yeah.
London a lot. And Boston, Amsterdam, I once had a flight that was 5 hours and 20 minutes. So in
Yep.
Oh,
theory,
wow.
a shorter flight than, going to LAX. And
Yep.
what I always have said to people in the miles and points world, and this is a huge argument I've had with, not huge argument, just an argument, I guess, because miles and points people love to argue. Or so I hear.
Debate.
Yeah, maybe debate. You're so politically correct. We like to argue. And I've had this debate when people are like, they want to use this word, premium cabin is so important. Premium cabin is so important. But they have to position to like JFK and they're flying to London or Amsterdam. And I'm like, think about it for a moment, okay? Like, just ponder it for a moment. The amount of trouble to position to JFK and then to leave like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours between the flight to then get a lie flat seat for a flight that maybe is 6 hours, of which maybe if all of the stars align, you get 4 hours of sleep. And that's like, if you're really lucky, you get 4 hours
If
of
you're
sleep.
really good at like optimizing, you might get 4 hours. Like
Exactly.
That's like
so
your high 90th percentile of sleep possible.
Right. So
Narcoleptic.
you're probably in those cases, if you're flying from a city like, let's call it like Minneapolis, where you could have flown nonstop, but now you're connecting through JFK to get the award seat, the good award seat, the good redemption in business class. Wouldn't you have been better off just like doing premium economy from Minneapolis, right? And just getting there. I've often done those kind of things. Like, you have to think, I think it is totally, the point is so well taken, because unless it's from Europe to the West Coast or you're going to Asia, the flights are just really short from the East Coast. And to waste all this time to fly to the East Coast, especially if you're in the Midwest or you're not there, and then to pad it with all this time. And then on top of it, it always most of the time winds up being JFK that you're positioning for, because JFK has a gazillion flights to London, right?
Yeah.
So of course there's going to be a gazillion more opportunities through JFK. Like, I'm always like, friends should not let friends fly through JFK if they don't have to. I mean, and maybe it's gotten a little bit better with the way, what is it, Terminal 8, where American is, like all of that. Like, that's, some of it's gotten a little bit better, but JFK is just not enjoyable. And especially if for some reason you were positioning to JFK and you had to change terminals, that's not enjoyable. So I think that's a really legitimate, a really legitimate thing to think about. Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it really
And,
worth to go through that much trouble to get that lie flat seat for 6 hours.
So I was going through that deliberation over the last couple of days. I finally booked a trip coming up, and I've been trying to book this trip probably for a month or so, and I feel really seen because we're flying out via Boston to be able to take that JetBlue Mint flight down to Madrid, and then we're flying home on a Singapore Saver from Frankfurt to JFK. Where, I mean, at 57,000 points, it's not that much more than premium economy anyway. And so I'm doing all the things that you're saying don't do, but we're crafting the trip around sort of the experience. Like we're going to try the Lindner Hotel in Frankfurt. I think there's a Lindner, Lidner hotel that Nick Reyes had been talking positively about. So we're going to try that. We're going to hopscotch around Spain. We wanted to try JetBlue Intercontinental or Transatlantic Mint. I mean, it's not ideal going eastbound, but that plus there's a Chase Sapphire Lounge that we have wanted to try out. So we're kind of crafting it into an experience, even though it's essentially requiring us to reposition both ways.
Trevor's making a lot of excuses. He's doing a lot of rationalization.
His rationalization right now, the next thing he should say, and use my link for this credit card sign up right now to get 100,000 points, and you can have the same experience that I'm going to be crafting. And use this link for the other credit card that you can. JetBlue is on my naughty list this week because I don't know if you allow cursing, but JetBlue is on my very naughty list, really naughty list this week. Like,
what on earth did they do?
Horrible optics naughty list. I actually am going to do a LinkedIn post about this. So there are some days that are very, very full, more than 2 weeks out in May for whatever various reasons. I'm not sure where they are, where JFK and EWR to LAX are jammed in premium seats. Like there's no availability. Like there is like no availability. We're talking revenue seats. We're not talking award seats here. So we're talking cash on the barrelhead, where flights are zeroed out in the F&J cabins, or there's 1 or 2 seats left. So I was able to grab for a client a seat on the flight that worked on this day. Thank goodness. There was maybe 1 seat or 2 seats left on JetBlue in Mint from JFK to LAX. One way, full fare, Mint. $3,500 plus. Little over $3,500.
One way business.
Yes.
Jeez. Wow.
I ticketed it. I ticketed the flight. I went to assign a seat. There are no seats available. Except for 1A.
I'm trying to think. That's one of the two. That's one of the 2 in the aisle, not the throne, right?
It is a Mint studio seat.
Oh, so that's the new aircraft. That costs another $200 or $300, right?
Ding, ding, ding. So I want you to pretend you are purchasing a full fare one-way Mint ticket for $3,500 and more than $3,500, like $300,560. And you have purchased that ticket. And then your really good-looking travel advisor needs to call you up and say, hey, by the way, Trevor, if you have a desire to actually have a seat assignment on this flight in advance, I'm going to have to run another $199 on your credit card.
Oh. You'd think that they'd have some sort of thing that says, full fare. Okay, we'll throw them a bone. I mean, at that cost.
So honestly, the optics are so bad.
Yeah.
And okay, mind you, if they were flying, which had 0 seats available, flagship first, they get flagship check-in.
Oh, yeah.
They get Chelsea Lounge. They get a first-class seat. And guess what? American Airlines doesn't charge for any of their first-class seats. So think of the value prop there. Flagship check-in, Chelsea Lounge, first-class seat. And here, Mint seat, extra fee for a seat, no lounge.
Well, to be fair, wouldn't Air France or British Airways charge you as well for a seat assignment for certain?
British Airways does not charge for seat assignments in first class. Only in first class.
So for business they would, right?
Of course.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, just to be apples to apples. I don't think.
Also, British Airways does not charge for a seat assignment for full fare.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Okay, so that's the thing that irked me here was the difference in price on a one-way Mint non-refundable on a busy day to LAX is $2,500. One-way Mint refundable is $3,500. Now, the non-refundable can always be refunded to a voucher, but some people just don't want to do that because they want. I mean, think of the size. If you buy these tickets on a regular occasion, or not on, or you're talking about people who don't care what airline they fly on. They just want to fly in the premium cabin and get somewhere. You really don't want like vouchers floating. Like I wouldn't want vouchers floating around for $2,500. That's like a lot of
your chances for breakage are so much higher for this type of clientele.
Exactly. So I can understand that. I can understand the thing about that, but it just was annoying to me. Like, of course, this is the outlier of the outlier, right? Because there were no seats to be assigned. So obviously they are slightly overselling the or maybe my guess is that there's a seat that's blocked or two seats that are blocked until the day before. But I can like to me, I wouldn't do that. I would just leave it. Of course, if you don't assign a seat, you have to get whatever seats available, and then you would get them in studio for free. If that was
well, that logic works. Except, so I flew home from Thanksgiving on Austrian, where I was supposed to. We didn't pay for the seat assignments, and so they involuntarily denied us boarding because they had oversold the business class cabin by one seat. And as a result, they had to fly us through Frankfurt, where we had to run through the airport, etc. And all I got was like 300 or 350 euro for the inconvenience. I mean, it's something, but I mean, sometimes there's a point to spending a little bit of money for knowing that you've got what you got. When you're spending that much money, though, it's just obnoxious and a cash grab.
Yeah,
it is obnoxious.
I think, but you know what? Honestly, like, let's try to show grace. I say that all the time now. Let's try to show grace. I just think that like nobody's really thinking about it. Like no one's really like thinking about I was crafting this LinkedIn post to do, which maybe I'm inspired not to do it. It's like Joan Rivers. Can we talk JetBlue? Like, can we just talk here? Like, you want these premium customers. You want them to feel special. You want them to feel good. You want them to buy your full fare Mint tickets. So why would you do this? Like, why, like what, it's just the optics of it. It's not even the amount of money, right? It's not a matter of, that kind of thing. But if you're
current CEO there, right? Was it Marty St. George? Is that who the?
No, he's the president.
He's the president.
Okay. He's the president, and then the CEO is I can't remember. It's a woman. I can't remember her name.
Okay,
but yeah, Marty's. They've
down to earth leadership over there. You'd think
really
they would look at something like that and be like, "Yeah, we're wrong. Like that's not acceptable."
I just go back to IT is hard.
That's where I think that the left hand, right hand doesn't really meet. Like nobody really is thinking of this kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
They're just thinking like, oh, we're selling Mint Studio. That's extra, but it doesn't matter. If they don't get Mint Studio, they get an extra, they just get a regular Mint seat. Yeah. Fine. So what happens when there are no seats to assign in Mint and someone just bought a full fare?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean,
it's such an edge case that they just haven't thought it through.
Yeah, that's right. And some might say, is it worth it for them to change their policy that full fare Mint gets the Mint Studio?
Probably, because I mean, again, your full fare customer is a different customer than the other 80% of the cabin. Who are buying.
Isn't it like what American's going to do when they get rid of first class? And what Virgin's done with their special studio? Like they have like these specials, like what American. Right. Like, so when American's first class is gone, there's going to be some class of service which gives you a slightly different seat, a slightly better positioned seat, I think, and gives you access to flagship dining. So you're going to get flagship dining, and you're going to get that seat. Like when there's no longer the first class that grants you the slightly different seat, And because if that's what you think about it, American Airlines, what's American Airlines first class? It's a slightly different seat. I mean,
Yeah,
what, so, I mean, being honest, on that note, I am saying my farewell, unless I change, on my trip to Greece this summer for 3 weeks. I am saying my farewell to American Airlines first class because Ellen and I are flying Miami to JFK. You see, I break my rules too. Miami to JFK. But mine is a good reason, okay? It's a 777-300 and the first class is going away. So mine counts because it's time barred.
And Chelsea.
What I think is really cool about it is that we've got the 777-300 from Miami to JFK. And we've got the 777-300 from JFK to London. So we have the first class from Miami to JFK.
There you go.
Even though it's not called first class then. So I thought that was sort of cool. I don't know. I mean, I think it's geek. I mean, probably nobody thinks that's cool except us, right? But I mean, I think that's...
Yeah, but there are some of us that might fly down to Miami to fly back to JFK just to fly.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like a 25,000-mile award seat. I was like, this is so cool from Miami to JFK. And also because think about it, because we're flagship the whole time, we get flagship dining in Miami, a Chelsea dining at JFK.
Yeah.
So that's pretty,
there's
you didn't
definitely
ask me though on the last trip, how the hell did you get into flagship dining?
Well, I thought ConciergeKey. No, yeah, because you're traveling international.
No, you don't get it. You get into flagship, but you don't get into flagship dining.
Is it your gold guest list status or okay?
No,
Tell us, please.
As you accumulate more and more loyalty points, some of the awards are flagship dining certificates.
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually, I hear you can bring up to 3. It's actually not a bad deal. And what's really cool about them, like American Airlines is so cool about all of this, you could basically give the voucher to a friend. So I could claim it as a loyalty point award and give you a voucher for flagship. What's really powerful about it is not if you get a voucher for flagship dining, it includes access to the flagship lounge. So it's really most powerful to give to somebody who would
not otherwise have had access
to anything. Yeah. But you can also get vouchers just for access to the flagship lounge too. So there are those vouchers too. So that's pretty cool because we can only use so many system-wide upgrades. So we don't really use the question becomes do you want to take the $200 credit? Do you want 25,000 miles? 25,000 miles. And so, I mean, what, it gets to a point where what are you going to, what else are you going to take? So my wife, if she would really be an overachiever and she could get up to 2 or 3 million loyalty points, then you get up to the gifting executive platinum and things like that. But we don't get up to that level. The most we can gift is platinum. So, and which we gifted to my daughter because my status thing right now, believe it or not, because my goal in life is to only fly on award tickets right now. So pretty much so all of my trips are only award tickets. I just went to San Antonio. I went to Mexico City recently. I'm going to Las Vegas for Memorial Day weekend. Award ticket, award ticket, award ticket. And I'm coming home from Reno. All award tickets I use. Now, as you're probably aware because you're more keyed in on this now if you get a good economy class award ticket, those are applicable for upgrade offers in the app. So for Mexico, when I got my 10,000, the best that was available was 10,000 miles in economy class. I was able to pay the $100 to upgrade to first. So that's really nice that American's allowing you to upgrade. I mean, literally, you could pick up those stupid 7.5 thousand mile flights on American Airlines. And sometimes if the flight isn't that full, you can then pick up an upgrade to first for $79 or $99 in the app. Mm-hmm. Well, that's much better if it's 7,500 for economy, but they want 45,000 for, a first class award. You're better off getting the economy for 7 or 10 and just paying $100 for the upgrade. At least in the way my brain thinks, I think that's better. And then there are also markets like Las Vegas, where a lot of times I'm flying out of PBI, which is a particularly difficult airport on the day, is either the most difficult airport in the world or the easiest airport in the world. Yeah. It's literally
very bipolar.
It is. I once had a PBI flight. Literally, I swear there were 15 concierge keys boarding. It's like and then you have other days where platinums are getting upgraded. So it's all over the place.
It's probably weekend versus midweek or something, maybe.
I think it's when a lot of things are happening, I think it's just hard to tell. Like, I think even like the midweek stuff, it is a very full. PBI Dallas is really tough. My preferred way to fly to Vegas is PBI Dallas Vegas as opposed to PBI Charlotte Vegas. But I'll do whichever one I can get the better award at, because I would rather be stuck in Dallas for a little bit than be stuck in Charlotte. I feel like I'm at least getting closer to Vegas.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think I'd rather be stuck in Dallas than Charlotte.
Nobody really wants to get stuck in Charlotte except for the Bojangles. Other than that, there's like no
sometimes you want a biscuit.
Yeah, exactly. But usually I want to get to Vegas. So with the award seats, I'm always looking at what the upgrade offer is. So basically, I don't really care about status anymore, except there's exception to one thing. The only thing that falls apart without status is not the Admirals Club, because we have that from our city executive card, but the darn access to the flagship lounge. Because I want to be able to access the flagship lounge. Now, I'm always connecting through Dallas. I want to be able to access the flagship lounge. And some of the flights to PBI do not line up at all, especially like Mexico City flights. You wind up with 3 or 4 hours. So I was able to have a friend, a gold guest list friend, has regifted me to One World Sapphire.
I was about to ask, it seemed like that'd be the ideal for you, given your travel patterns, to make sure you have some version of elite status through British Airways.
And I don't really care about the upgrade status, because the best status I could give myself is platinum on American. And the only real advantage on platinum on American, the advantage there is I have a chance of being on the upgrade list, but I have had like close to zero. The only success I had as a platinum ever flying by myself and not flying with my wife as a solo platinum is I got an upgrade from Charlotte to Biloxi. That's about the extent of like because I'm flying on days where people want to fly. I'm just not I hear from people like the success from people like from PBI, and I'm like, when are you flying? I'm like, well, who wants to fly then? I'm like, that's though my daughter Adina, she left on Monday night and she took the evening flight from PBI to Dallas to San Francisco, and she's a newly minted platinum because I gifted her, and she got upgraded on both segments. So it happens from PBI as a platinum, not a pro, just the platinum. And this comes back to...
there's just some really interesting patterns with American in particular. It makes me think of, in my particular case, I don't know how many times I've done awards for DCA to Las Vegas on the nonstop. It's oftentimes they never have coach seats, but it's like a lot of times they have tons of space on that 321 or whatever is flying up in the front, and it starts getting pretty reasonable, to do those as awards sometimes, which is so strange because you wouldn't think that there would be that much availability between regular economy and business, but it just seems to be the case a lot of times.
But maybe it's government people that are forced into Y that don't have status.
Could be.
It could be. You've got no.
I'm always trying to think about, like, is it? Government people forced into Y wouldn't make sense, right? Because if they had executive platinums, they would be.
Reagan has some weirdness, just like PBI. It's got some intricacies because of all the government flyers. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I had a flagship question about Chelsea. So, like you mentioned, the flagship dining. Is there actually an advantage to having flagship dining at Chelsea? Because I feel like everybody has. Doesn't everybody get a la carte over at Chelsea?
You get Chelsea because in theory, Chelsea is like
flagship dining.
Chelsea is like flagship dining. The lounge below Chelsea is like flagship, and the lounge below that, which is I think the entry one, is Soho. Honestly, I cannot tell you, nothing annoys me more than the stupid names of those lounges. It is so.
Greenwich is the one I think in between.
Yeah, exact. Soho, Greenwich, Chelsea. It doesn't stick. It is not it is not consistent with anything. But you know what the stupid about it? It's not consistent with American. Look at ORD. Look at DFW. Everywhere. It's a flagship lounge. Why the hell did they do this? It just is like, it makes no sense. It is so... I mean, honestly, I almost have to like keep repeating it over and over again. Soho, Greenwich, Chelsea. Soho, Greenwich,
We'll blame
Chelsea.
British Airways, maybe. Maybe some genius in London decided that made sense.
And that's funny because it's CCR. Well, you know what? Here's an interesting thing. So ConciergeKey gets into flagship automatically and gets flagship check-in, but doesn't get flagship dining. But concierge does get CCR at Terminal 5. So a ConciergeKey gets the Concorde room, just like a global guest list was. But it's what's so weird is, but they don't let a ConciergeKey have flagship dining, which makes no sense at all. Because if you think about it, I as a Sapphire have access. I as a non-US Sapphire have access to flagship. Ellen as a ConciergeKey has access to flagship.
That is pretty crazy.
They really should. These are the things we lie awake at night pondering. But, honestly, nothing drives me crazier. And I think it's like, I wouldn't call myself like an OCD person, but it's a little bit of that like perfectionist, like things that align, and nothing bothers me more than things that don't like make sense to me. Like, I feel like I want to take these executives and throw them in a room and be like, why are you giving ConciergeKey CCR access, but you're not letting them into flagship dining? What is your thought process behind this? But
so let's try to pivot a little bit. So the reason that we wanted to have you on was, I think you and I both commented on a Facebook post about somebody who was talking about, I don't know if it was something like they were staying at like a Hyatt place, but they really wanted to be at another Hyatt, but they didn't have points. And I think both of us sort of weighed in and sort of said, sometimes it makes sense to pay. You can't always do it on points. I know that you just spent 10 minutes talking about how you don't want to have a paid flight for the entire year. Let's talk a little bit about...
I break all my rules all the time, so don't worry. That could be broken by like tomorrow. Because I just looked at
there's a key word for this episode. It's inconsistencies. That is a key word. This is the inconsistencies episode.
I'll just say this one thing, and then I want to do your pivot. I promise. The best part of Win Loyalty is Win Connoisseur classes. It used to be called master classes. And I just pulled it up because I keep forgetting to look at it. I'm like, oh my God, the cheese connoisseur. Beverly Hills beats the Las Vegas Strip with Dominic D. Bartolomeo, proprietor of the cheese store of Beverly Hills, hosted exclusive tasting of new cheeses coming to Win Thursday, May 1st at 2 p.m. SW Steakhouse. And those experiences are $250 unless you have status. And I'm like, I need a haircut. Oh, that's the other thing I've managed to do for the last 4 years. I have not had my hair cut, not in a casino property. I've only had my hair cut in Encore Boston Harbor, Borgata Atlantic City, or Wynn Las Vegas. I'm on a streak. It's driving my wife crazy because my hair is really long now. She's like, have we considered a local haircut place? I'm like, but...
Just send you to Vegas. You'll be fine.
I'm streaking. Yeah, I'm going. So I'm thinking, I could go in and do cheese connoisseur. I was like, would it be crazy to just try to find an award ticket, which I probably can on that day, and just fly into Vegas for the cheese connoisseur and to get my hair done and then come home on a red eye?
Well, don't forget the glass of champagne while you're having your haircut.
Yeah. Anyway, that's. I'm sorry. Now I'll get back. I just couldn't. By the way, those master classes are so good. If you go to experiences master classes at the Wynn Las Vegas website, they're so good. Then they have the next one after that is be a wedding planner. Okay, that one that's the first master class I've never been interested in going to. And then they have be a sommelier. Embark on the extraordinary wine tasting journey guided by James Beard award-nominated sommelier Christy Norman, Thursday, May 29th. So, which is right after Memorial Day. So I might try to make that one. Though that's a little bit complicated with the 10 times multiplier in Tahoe. So I'm a little like there's a lot going on in my head. The other one that I missed that I cleared the wait list the day before, but I couldn't swing it in January was Canine Series. So Wynn has the best canine program in the country for dogs. They've won all kinds of awards for their dogs. And it was basically an introduction to their canine team and getting to meet the dogs and understand what they do. And understand what those dogs do at Wynn Las Vegas for security and all of that. And did you know those dogs exercise daily? They have an area on the golf course. They take them out and play and everything. So these dogs are living their best life. But it does take a long time to train them. But I don't know if you've ever seen the canine dogs at Las Vegas casinos. They're amazing. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. And Wynn is at the forefront of their canine program.
The things you learn. The things you
Wow.
learn.
Yeah, there you go. And now you can pivot.
So I think it's very easy in the Mile and Point community to just get into this feeling like we'll set aside the whole, I paid with points, so it was free. We'll set that aside, because that could be an entirely different episode, right? But there's this, I don't know, preference to just use points and not actually, pay cash for anything. And in some cases, I feel like that's just, short-sighted, right? I mean, we're collecting these points, and it's effectively a discount, right? We're, maybe we've got an economy budget for a trip, but we're flying in business or first class. Maybe we've got a courtyard budget, and we're staying at a Thompson or a JW Marriott or something like that. And I just feel like that's one of those perennial debates that shouldn't even be a debate.
I think it's somebody doesn't understand the value, right? Because, you should be making a case-by-case assessment, of your personal value of what that award would have cost, right? Versus what that would have cost you out of pocket. Because I know that's a decision or the math that I'm doing every single time I'm booking something. Like, is it better for me to use my points, or do I save them for later? Or is it better for me to use, cash? That's a pretty fundamental calculation. And the people who are kind of maybe in that camp, maybe they're really good at point accumulation and pretty bad at redemption. That's the only thing that I could think of, is they're very one-dimensional in their thinking. And I would say, you know what? Do at least 2-dimensional chess. You can hold off on 3-dimensional chess or 4D chess, but at least get up to 2-dimensional chess.
Part of it is like what you said, immediately when I see an award amount, I translate that into dollars. Right. So if you say to me, that's 25,000 Hyatt points, I translate it into dollars, right? So if you look at the retail, if you're redeeming 25,000 Hyatt points and the retail price for the room is $980, ding, ding, ding. If you're redeeming 25,000 points and the room price is $290, not good. So I immediately do that valuation. I always say to people, don't make it so complicated. Just make it a cent a point. If you want to just use, you're just rounding anyway, right? That's all you're doing. And then you have this other issue of points rich people versus points poor people. So I would say people who are doing heavy manufactured spend, who are accumulating all of these points, like on a obsessive, crazy manner. God bless them. I think it's wonderful. I think everything that's obsessive is wonderful. I know people who stand at craps tables for 14 hours. It's all good. Like, no judgments, like really no judgments. I know people have sat at baccarat tables for 20 hours. No judgment. Like, we all have our shtick. But there are some people who spend, a lot of time. So they're accumulating so many points. So like the value of the point, like the whole thing gets a little perverted then. Whereas somebody who they get that $100,000 mile bonus. Like, that's a lot of miles because they don't do any MS. So they only accumulate through travel or other things, and they're not high spenders. So it's a little bit different that way. But then the problem with the people who do the MS stuff, once again, God bless them. I love them. But the problem is then I get into the whole valuation of like, well, how about the time you spent and the money you spent doing that? Is that taken into your equation there? Because, saying I did MS and that got me 400,000 Hyatt points this year. Okay, fair enough. There had to be some cost in that, right? Like, it wasn't like just, it's not like, well, how I do MS is, my boss wants me to go pick up a painting at Sotheby's. So I just pick up a $300,000 painting and put it on my credit card and he wires me. That's no effort MS, right? One $300,000 transaction on your credit card and you get points. Okay, that's fair enough. That's nothing. But, for most people to earn through MS takes a significant amount of work. But what is interesting, except sometimes arbitrage stuff through casinos, because you could do all that online. That could be an interesting outlet. That's why I sort of like some of the stuff that Justin Vakula does, and he'll be at ZorkFest, does, because you can do it all online like that. But that hardcore gift card stuff and and also like reselling is so complicated and risky.
Trevor doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, and the problem with that stuff is, all of that stuff is so dangerous for people who know enough to get themselves in trouble. right? Like all those things, like they know enough to get themselves. They basically know enough where actually they can really get themselves in trouble, especially like the gift card things that we've heard about and the stories with people with reselling and getting burned.
There's a ton of stories there. I mean, I think the challenge is even if you're generating the points, there's, as you said, there's a cost for that, but there's also an opportunity cost. At least in my calculation,
Oh yeah.
I always think about the opportunity cost. I am loath to burn Marriott points, Envoy points, because I want to get back to the Maldives. And St. Regis Maldives was just left us such a great feeling that we want to go back. And so I've got enough to be able to pay for that, which is a completely irrational expenditure when we finally get the opportunity to do it because of how excessive Marriott has increased those points. But now I'm looking, I said we're going to Madrid at some point. The Westin Palace is now the Palace, and they've doubled the redemption cost. And I'm like, I really wanted to stay there, but now I just can't see the justification.
Santa Moro is not bad.
I have to look into that. Is that an FHR or
It's Marriott.
It is?
It's Luxury Collection. It wasn't. It recently became Luxury Collection a few years ago before that because they did a bunch of renovations. But you realize what's so interesting about it. It was a palace. And that's really cool. It was a duke's palace, the Duke of something. I tweeted about it, but I can't remember. Old man syndrome. But the Duke of Santa Moro. And the really cool thing about it, they only have like 76 keys.
Oh, that's a very small. That's a very small property.
Very small property. The breakfast was phenomenal. The Marriott included breakfast. So, what we did for that trip is we used fifth free night, but only stayed for 4 nights and we used a upgrade instrument and got upgraded. And I screwed that up a little bit because I only choose for Marriott for upgrade instruments like suites, but they had 2 choices like suite and luxury suite. And I should have just chosen luxury suite, and I chose suite and luxury suite. And of course we got upgraded to the suite and then didn't get further upgraded to a luxury suite. And I'm like, damn. I mean, I didn't game this correctly because, when they have when you use those NUA, those suite upgrade awards, it could work for a category of upgrading you from a regular room to a suite, or it can upgrade from your category from a regular room or a view room or whatever. They give you like 12 choices. And I only choose the suite category choices because I'm not interested in the other ones because you're going to get it. Of course, my wife is also a Marriott ambassador. You see, I told you about this marriage thing, right? And she's
an important
global.
life choice.
That's life choices. But anyway, we used fifth free night, which is the only way. So I have an obsession with Marriott that I either use it for 1-night stays, where it's like quick and dirty and it just makes sense financially, or for 5-night stays with fifth free night. Otherwise, I feel like I'm really losing out on like a 3 or 4-night stay. So I'm willing for a 1-night stay because it's short. It's really short and it could just make sense. So we use 5th night free, but we use the 5th night for early check-in.
But by the way, in second place for the name of this episode, bipolar.
Yes, I know.
Oh golly, the barbs, the barbs are out today.
Yeah, they are.
I'm just I'm calling what I see.
That's okay. It's sort of how my brain works sometimes. There's so much exciting stuff that we're talking about. But when you mention Marriott points and how you're saving them up, I'm sure you're saving them up to use them for 5th night free.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, you don't go to the Maldives, you don't pay for the seaplane transfer and everything else that comes into involved with the Maldives for less than 5 nights.
I'm embarrassed to say it has been probably a decade since I've redeemed for 5th night free. But I think Trevor knows I'm a big fan of like hotel hopping. That's probably my problem.
And that doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't always work.
Oh man, some of the stories of us hotel hopping.
I have so much trouble with like we're just in Madrid for a few nights, like changing hotels because I'm such a freak with like being settled, and even though like we only have hand carry-on baggage, and I don't have that much stuff with me, but I all want it neatly organized, and like lined up and put away. And when you hotel hop, you have to like sort of live out of your suitcase more. So that sort of disturbs me. I mean, I guess it's calming and relaxing. Like the first thing I do when I get to a hotel is, ring them up and say, I need my shirts pressed. I need them to, like, that's always like one of my things that how I differentiate if a hotel's good is like, you got to be able to get into your room, pick up your phone and say, I need someone here to pick up my shirts to press. Especially if you're hand baggage, right? I mean, and my wife got something pressed and I like that. I also like, and we hadn't done this before, but I do this a lot for booking people on third night free, fourth night free, or fifth night free on revenue rooms where they don't really need that night, but we use it for ultra late checkout or ultra early check-in. So I was on the 5 p.m. from Miami. What time does that land? 6:15. So it lands at 6:15. We were at the hotel at 7:30 in the morning. Now, it is true, as Ellen being an ambassador, there's a good chance that maybe something would get lucky. But then there's a chance that when you arrive as early as 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning, reasonably, if they have your room ready at 10 or 11, that's pretty good. But still, you have to like hang out for a couple of hours when you've been in premium economy. To me, that's not an enjoyable way to arrive. When it's that early in the morning, you've come off of an early overnight flight. So it's so nice to be able to get to the hotel, get into your suite at 7:30 in the morning, get your stuff to press. I take a nap literally took a nap immediately for 2 hours. I had a meeting with somebody at like 11 o'clock and then we went out to lunch and I feel like a rock star and all my stuff is put away and I feel like a human being. And also think how that extends the first day. That makes that first day a real day. I've gotten into my hotel room at 7:30 in the morning. That's like a real first day. And I know some might say, well, maybe they would have had a room they could put you in and you could go into your suite later and all that. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go in a room and then move my stuff and do all that.
And that's something that I think has been a thread or a mantra on this podcast. Book the flight or book the room you want. Using that fifth night free, so you've got that early check-in, is exactly aligned with that. You're not saying, oh, well, Ellen has ambassador status. They might be good. They might not. You want to have that confirmed. And that's going to notably change your experience and how you start your trip. When you hit the ground, that's going to set the tone for your entire trip.
I think so. And I often have a saying that unless a benefit is codified, then you might get unlucky and not get it, no matter what your status is. Like Royal Ambassador with IHG always had, 8 o'clock check-in as a codified benefit, or they would give you another room. Like that's what they did or still do, I think who's Royal? Do you know anyone who's still Royal Ambassador? I don't know anyone, but it's a codified benefit. So that's fine when something's a codified benefit. Like I recently in the Hyatt group, one of the Hyatt groups, someone was saying that they were like going to land. They were landing at like 4 or 5 a.m. in Tokyo or something like that. And what do you think the chance they're going to let me check into the 2 rooms at 7? No, they don't care that you're. And of course,
not
like
one,
Japanese
but 2 rooms.
Yeah, I know. And it's, and of course I gave the Starkey amount, like this would be a great opportunity to buy the room from the night before.
Maybe that's what maybe that's what triggered the want to do this episode. Maybe that was the post that triggered it. Because I remember that as well.
I mean, I think the world is too mean, and I'm a news junkie, absolute news. And I'm also an SNL junkie. Do you like SNL? Did you watch their parody on the White Lotus? Do you watch the White Lotus?
I did, yes. I heard that their joke was really, really mean. I haven't actually had this chance to see
the White POTUS.
The White POTUS.
Oh no, I thought it was related to the woman with the teeth.
Well, they did make fun of her. I love her. She's amazing. My daughter was saying she's in another show. I have my issues with White Lotus as a show sometimes. That's very interesting. It's really done great stuff for 4 seasons. Like it's really I think it's wonderful for tourism in general. You're right, bipolar episode. I think it's wonderful for tourism in general because it brings attention to things that people like the average ordinary American might not be thinking about. So it's like, oh, where is that place? Oh, I want to go there now. I love that. That's awesome. That's a awesome.
It's funny
thing.
how they have product placement and they never actually mention the product, right?
Well,
Because do they ever? Yeah, because it's never actually mentioned that it is a Four Seasons, but everybody knows that it's a Four Seasons.
I mean, with the amount of deaths on that in that series, I feel like I wouldn't want Four Seasons to be associated with it, right?
Well, I was sort of thinking like this place is not like a chill place, and this is a little creepy going on. But getting back to showing grace and all of the meanness in the world, like I hate one of the things that's tough, and I used to refer to it as like the flyer talk syndrome. Like I would always felt like every time, and I have over 8,000 posts on Flyer Talk, and I post there like a few times a year, literally. And I always felt like with Flyer Talk, before you were going to respond to something, I almost had to run it through my legal counsel brain, like dotting my I's, crossing my T's, all that. Like one of the things I love about the world now, and thank you TikTok for doing this, is that if you're like 70% right, you're like a bloody genius, right? If you're not giving like complete misinformation. But I feel like, if I could get it 70 or 80% right, I'm doing so well, because so much stuff that's out there by social media influencers, you're lucky if it's like 50% right. But like when you grew up in the Flyer Talk world, like literally, if you said one little iota of a thing wrong, you would get jumped on, right? And it could be the most minute kind of thing, So I would always be like phrasing a post and trying to do it. Like, oh no, I better clarify that. Oh, I better make sure that's exact. Because like if I don't get all this exact, some guy's going to go, oh, well, I don't know. Like according to somebody else, the upgrade algorithm is based like this, and there couldn't have been just one concierge key in front. There probably were two, but then this happened, and that's coming from the world of Flyer Talk. You're so used to it. Whereas
that's the exact
now,
accent, by the way, that I imagine as well on Flyer Talk. So pretty much capture that exactly spot on.
But it is, and it was just so annoying. I just remember like arguing with someone on Flyer Talk. It's like,
oh well, that's your problem right there.
You can never win an argument with someone. So I try to be mean, but like sometimes when someone posts like that post in a Hyatt group, it's like ding ding ding. Like I'm always like, to me, there's always this huge thing about, especially when you're traveling with a family and you have multiple rooms, think about your arrival experience. Think about how you're going to start your trip. And would you want to start your trip with your family in tow, getting to a hotel at 7:00 in the morning, begging for rooms which they're not going to give you, then them telling you that maybe they'll have one room ready at 11:00, and then you're hanging around there, your kids are screaming, your other kid's spilling something, your wife is like upset, and then 11:00 comes and they're like, I'm so sorry, it'll be ready by noon, and the other room is there, and you're hanging around and you don't know what to do, and you've got all your crap and you're sweating, and your other kid just pissed in his pants, and now this is how you're starting your vacation.
You have such an eloquent skill in just painting that picture.
Right. Was it really worth it? You got that award of redemption for the really shitty flight, which happened to land at 4:00 in the morning, to now get in the hotel. It's like, you think of it, it's so funny. Like some people do some things so well, and then the other things, like it's not worth it. Like stay in a cheaper hotel or use a different redemption for another hotel to be able to book the room from the night before, or I don't know, and that's in comparison to like when you do a bro trip, and I'm calling your trips bro trips. When you do your,
we call it bro trip sometimes too.
Okay. But when you guys are winging it and you're like, oh, if we can't get in the room, we'll hang out in this lounge in the airport first, or we'll go here, and I don't care if I don't shower for 2 days. And, it's totally different. But when you have your family, you have to think about that arrival experience and how that's going to start off your trip. And think about it. And we all know, and my kids are older now, when you start something off wrong, it takes a while to recover from that, right?
Oh, I completely agree. Like to the point where, I'm going to tie it back to what we were talking about earlier, because to me, that arrival is almost more important than the class of service that I fly over, especially to Europe. Like, again, because like I could suffer, premium economy or economy on an overnight transatlantic flight because Honestly, I'd probably get almost the same amount of sleep as I would even if I'm flying first or business. But it's more important that as soon as I hit the ground, I can get into a hotel room. I can take that 2-hour nap, like you said, and feel like $1,000,000 because 2 hours in a hotel bed, I don't know. I don't care how nice, it could be La Premiere, it could be Lufthansa First, it could be any of those. Nothing's going to be as good as a nice, quiet hotel room on the ground for you to recover.
And also getting yourself settled, because you really aren't settled until you're in your hotel room. Now, we could hybrid it a little bit and say, well, if you have access to an arrivals lounge, like say London Heathrow, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like the Virgin Arrivals Lounge, like that's a good way to hybrid it. So maybe you arrive really early, you can take a shower, because that shower does make a difference.
I do like a full English.
Yeah, or full. Well, then you immediately fall asleep, no matter where you are. So it's like perfect. But I think those are great things to say. And it's also, I take it that far with the arrival experience with, how you get from the airport to your hotel and what's right or wrong or what makes sense and that kind of thing. And I'm a no judgments person with that kind of thing. Like when I lived in Amsterdam and when I lived in London, I always took public transportation to and from the airports. Pretty much, not always, sometimes I had a dog, sometimes I had many bags, but a lot of times I was taking not Heathrow Express because that's a ripoff. Actually, truly not Heathrow Express because nobody really wants to go to Paddington. The truth of it is Heathrow Express didn't really help me. So I just took the Green Line, and that was fine getting me where I needed to go. And in Amsterdam, I took the bus most of the time to the airport because I lived in Old South and the bus just made sense. But what I also tell people sometimes is you've got to weigh a couple of things, especially with like older travelers and family travelers. I'm like, you might think that it's cool to take public transportation or you're going to save money and that's going to be a great way to do it. But the problem sometimes with that is you also have to think about situational awareness. You've gotten off an evening flight. Do you know how many people I know in both London and Amsterdam are not used to it? They're tired. They get off a flight. They get on a train, not how many people, but I've heard of this many, many times. And I know of like one or two people personally, and they're not careful with their personal belongings. Well, it happened all the time in Amsterdam, happened all the time in London. Somebody runs on, grabs your bag or purse and runs off and you lose your stuff because you're not like when I would sit on the tube from Heathrow, like I've got my rollerboard in between me. I'm like really conscious of where my stuff is and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of things I say, if you're with a family and you're with a lot of people, and that sounds great to take the train from the airport, but you better damn well be able to keep track of all your stuff because you're setting up because you know how bad your trip starts when someone steals a woman's purse or your rollerboard. That is a bad way to start a trip. So I say it's not just a matter of the money and the fun of the public transportation and that it's what kind of situation are you going to be in? And then there's the situation of, if you don't go to Heathrow all the time, you don't understand how the Ubers work. Like Terminal 5 Uber is really easy. Terminal 3 sucks because you got to go up in the parking lot and go over and you have to find it. So sometimes like that's when it makes sense. Just for arrivals, I tell people, have that car and driver there. Then you don't have to think. You can be dead tired. Maybe you didn't sleep on the flight. Maybe you're still drunk from the flight. It's all fine. So you just need to think about all of these kind of things as far as like arrival experience, getting to the hotel and all those kind of fun things. But I think sometimes people like that obsession of either that or getting the best bargain. I am sure there's somebody listening to this that says that Trager guy is a fool. He used a 5th free night on a Bonvoy redemption for an early check-in. That's so dumb. He probably would have been able to check in that room by 10 o'clock and he could have had another night. Like that's another perspective of a way to look at it, right? And because I find miles and points people, like you were saying, they're so obsessed with like not spending. A lot of people, we shouldn't paint broad strokes, I guess, but a lot of people are so obsessed with only using points, never spending cash, or always getting the best award redemption. So always getting the best airline redemption. They're positioning and taking flights that don't make sense. Always getting the best hotel redemption. They're staying at a hotel that they don't want to. All of that kind of stuff, which is it's an interesting conversation. And of course, I guess to be fair, it's completely different situational conversation. Like, are you traveling alone? Are you traveling with your family? Are you traveling with your wife or your partner? Or, and is the person you're traveling with not very good traveler, and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot to think about.
I mean, value is so personal, right? I mean, and I think people need to respect that. And I think a lot of people don't. They think that their truth is the only truth. And in the reality in the world, anything could be further from the truth, right? Because absolutely, I think value is personal, and it means different things to different people.
So well said. And I think I want to leave it there because we've got one last topic that I want to cover that I think is near and dear to your heart, Michael. And I think you guys have already thrown me shade for having missed last year. But you've got ZorkFest. What are the dates again? Is it December?
ZorkFest is in December. That is true. And it is December 5th to December 7th.
And I hear that you might have some new stuff compared to past years.
Yes, I'll do it. I'm actually very, very proud of it. I've been very proud of this passion project that I don't know why I keep doing it every year, but it's like one of those the things that's like, I guess it's the most equivalent thing as far as being a man to giving birth. It's always like such a pain in the ass to like pull it off and to do it all. But then for some reason, when you're done with it and it's felt really good and you forget about the pain of all the stuff you have to go through to do the event. So, oh my God, that sounds awful. But that's all to give everyone a great experience. Well, right? You've had a good experience. Like, I think it's like what I try to do is good. But anyway, we officially have our contract signed. And this is the first time I'm saying it in spoken word. This is the first time we are truly having ZorkFest at a very bougie casino property with a very bougie, true 4-star room product. And that property is, drumroll please, M Resort and Spa and Casino Las Vegas.
Oh.
M Resort and Spa and Casino. There's another casino loyalty program. Go look it up. The casino is being very helpful for us. This is a property that I guess if you just keep driving past Mandalay Bay, you keep going more south, like towards the airport. That's where it is. So it's not really far.
Henderson, right?
Yes, it is Henderson. We don't say that. It is very close to. No, it's okay. And for the miles and points people, if you're in our room block or you have a room or you're staying at M Resort Casino, they have a free airport shuttle for hotel guests.
Wow, I don't think I knew that.
Yes, it's not. So they have a free airport shuttle for hotel guests. A really cool shuttle because they're official hotel of the Raiders. It's a big Raiders shuttle for 12 people. And of course, we are participating with the casino and a host. So we will be able to, for those people who are mild degenerates, i.e. the person who said, I'm not going to use those extra points for that hotel, or I'm not going to use those extra points for the room, but I'll lose $10,000 at the baccarat table. That's cool. I know those people. Anyway, we also will be able to match offers for people who are getting comp offers at other properties. My asterisk there is, no, we're not matching status. We don't really care what your status is. We care if you're getting free rooms in other places. So I'm really happy for you if you're matched to status and you have that status. But unless you can show us that you actually get free rooms, we're not going to give you a free room. But we love you anyway. We have a really good room block anyway. We even have negotiated a discounted resort fee. I know, discounted resort fee. But you know what it is? It's less than a regular resort fee, and our room rate is less than the rate that's online, which is sort of cool. But the room product is really, really good. It's a really nice product. And if you look up the M Resort, you will see it's a great hotel, official hotel of the Raiders, great food and beverage establishments, great bars, great spa. It's very zen. It's actually a perfect place for something like this conference. And they have a good casino floor. So that's a pretty good thing. This year, prior to the cocktail reception on Friday night, we're introducing something new called pre-sessions. For those who need to catch up or need more familiarity, like the first timers with travel and casino loyalty. So regularly, ZorkFest kicks off with a cocktail reception on Friday night. Well, before that cocktail reception, we are going to have, they're not going to run at the same time, so you can do both of them, a travel loyalty and a casino loyalty. So where we can talk about terms and things to just get people up to speed who've never come to ZorkFest before or have never gone to any kind of loyalty conference before. The Craps and Blackjack Labs will return, where we will have instructional sessions about blackjack and craps. Anthony Curtis is also returning, which is really, really exciting for Belvier. And he'll be doing that. And we have real craps tables and blackjack tables. They're in the conference. None of that shenanigans we had last year. We had a whole problem. The problem was that they couldn't fit the new craps tables into the freight elevator in the North Tower. And don't get me started. We're introducing a new concept this year. Miles and Points Labs. So we're going to have like a lab session where it's going to be like the flying first class session. And there are going to be some experts there. Just like you would go up to the blackjack lab and learn how to play blackjack, there are going to be some experts who are going to be like, what's your aspiration? What do you want to do? And they're going to sort of lab it out. I just made that up, about how to do that. So anyway, I haven't fully baked this thing, but I'm baking it. It's baking very well. Easy bake oven, 1 light bulb. And we're going to have another optional extra cost, epic foodie and beverage dining experience. I'm finally going to get the video together. The dining experience that was optional last year was on Friday night. This year it's going to be on Sunday night. Last year it was at Sinatra. We created a dinner that is one of the most spectacular dinners that people have ever gone to in their entire life. And I truly, honestly say that. It was a dinner that was crafted to sort of align with, if you wanted to, what Frank Sinatra would have been eating in Las Vegas. We also had sponsorship from Jack Daniels, and we had a master taster from Jack Daniels, and we're hoping they're going to return again. And we basically paired different Jack Daniels products with every course of the dinner. So that's pretty down coast. So we're going to do another kind of foodie experience. I don't know what direction I'm going in. I love the Frank Sinatra direction. I'd love to go in a caviar direction. Maybe some other direction. I'm not sure. I have a couple of ideas. We might try to do the Frank Sinatra direction too. We will once again have podcasters after dark. ZorkFest, most of ZorkFest is on Saturday, but late Saturday night, which is not that late, 8:30 at night, we have a live podcaster event. But this year it's going to be even more special because it's literally going to be one of the #1 Vegas podcasts. It's going to be hosted by 360 Vegas, and they're going to be doing a live episode at ZorkFest with panel and guests and audience participation. So that's going to be really, really cool. We are going to also have more masterclasses, which are also an optional thing on Sunday. We're definitely leading into more extensive sports betting coverage and, sports betting to get points and all that kind of stuff, because we know that's something people are really interested in. There is what we've always prided ourselves with ZorkFest is there is no requirement to stay at the host hotel, but the host hotel bookings include a free play offer and a reduced resort fee. So you can use your FHR or your other comps. But remember, if you're getting comped at other properties, we're going to try really hard to comp you here anyway. But either way, I mean, you're talking it's an $8 Uber, if you didn't want to stay there. It's just sort of a convenience package. We also, once again, and I've contracted it early, thank goodness, we're going to have, once again, optional private gaming experience on Sunday morning, aka Coffee Dice, with 2 private craps tables and 1 private Baccarat table. So it's really a cool year. Now, you're probably going to say, who are the speakers who are going to be at ZorkFest? That's a great question, because if I could remember anything, I'd be able to tell you off the top of my head, but my memory is not so great. So we will see. Actually, it's a really, really good lineup. It's not done yet, but we're getting closer.
I think I heard that you have at least one very good friend of the pod doing some family travel discussions. Is that safe to share?
That is right. I am super excited for Dia Adams to be joining us this year.
I think, and she just has such a great perspective. I mean, I feel like she's in a class of her own. Just the difference.
Yes, and she also loves Vegas too.
She's a very dynamic person. She really is.
I know. I am so excited to have her. So the complete lineup so far confirmed, and we still have a couple more people to confirm. Anthony Curtis from Las Vegas Advisor. We're going to have Dia. We're going to have Julia again of GOB's Travel. Some of these people are just helping out a little bit. We have Angie from Award Travel 101, Angie Sparks, and Maria Fung, I hope I got that right, of Family Travel Asia, also from Award Travel 101. We have Ronnie Dunstan of Living the High Life Secrets Jet Setting Around the Globe for Free. We have Justin Vakula, and we have Dave Grossman. But you will notice what's very interesting from this list, that we're almost approaching 50% female.
Yeah, that's actually quite the accomplishment.
So, but I also think like it's a really cool mix of people. So we're going to be adding a few other people, especially there are some people who can't commit early of the caliber of guys like Gary Leff. It's just, it is the catch-22. It's early, but there are just some people who can't commit this early to it. And I'm super duper hoping Gary will be able to make it back. He's always a wonderful addition. I've also invited some other people. I need to twist some more arms, and there are a couple other surprises out there. I have a couple of other concepts and ideas, with some people, but we'll see what happens. But so far, I'm like super, super pleased with the lineup. I think it's going to be really, really good. That's where we are with it so far. Tickets are like, the website will not be updated till next week because we just need time. That's because Michael, who works with me, does that. But we have a lot of stuff to get together on that. But the tickets are, in essence, for sale. We will not put the private table gaming tickets on sale until May 1st. So what we did for last year is we take a small amount of money and a refundable deposit for the craps and the baccarat, just because we are so limited by positions at the table that we don't want people signing up who are going to no-show, because it creates a huge problem for us. So basically last year, the sign-up fee was like $8, but you had to pay $108. By the way, I love figures with eights. Eights are sort of my thing. And basically you got the $100 back when you showed up. So if you no-showed, it cost you $100. So that was our way of making sure that nobody no-showed. I think one person no-showed. But it's also sort of hard because you only have 14 people at a craps table. So I think it's going to be really, really great. This hotel is super classy. They're really working. The casino side is really working well with us to try to be super accommodating. And we'll have some other surprises. Like, once again, we don't know about like what we're going to do with like alcohol kind of stuff. Last year was very Jack Daniels. I would love to do that again, but sure, if they'll definitely do that again. I mean, everything was super successful, but it's hard to, sponsor wise, things sometimes vary a little bit. So we'll try to figure that out. But
yeah, it might be hard to get LVMH to come to the table this year.
Yeah, that's right. We'll try to do some cool stuff. I think that our food and beverage and our complete offering is pretty good about that.
As a past attendee, I can attest that Michael does just an amazing job of like kind of curating a very eclectic and a very, very expansive lineup of speakers and events and things. It's just, I almost feel like it's very few other Miles and Points conferences that have the variety, that Michael puts together. It's a very unique conference, and definitely one that I've had tremendous value from the multiple times I've attended, and it's just very unique. There's really not anything like it. So, people who are missing out are really missing out.
I would like to think.
And I've had the FOMO as I've followed along and texted back and forth with TK among the 2 or 3 ZorkFests that you've gone to. I think the last 2 were either on my birthday or my anniversary. But thankfully, there's nothing in December.
Well, except for my birthday.
Oh yeah, this is. You're right.
So I may not be able to make this one, Michael. I think he has a knack for picking either my birthday, your birthday, or your anniversary.
Yeah, but don't you want to be in Vegas on your birthday?
I do, but I already made plans for my birthday this year.
You made plans this far in advance for your birthday?
I booked a cruise.
Oh, they can be canceled.
They can be canceled. That's true.
Peer pressure.
I'm actually going to a Gordon Ramsay Michelin 3-star for the first time in my life in London for my birthday this year, which is something that we don't regularly do. Trevor, what I was expecting you to say is you're going to cancel at the last minute because you're going to say something like, I got this like unicorn redemption on new Lufthansa first class, Michael. I'm so sorry. I mean, I really want to be there, but what's the chance I'll get a redemption in new Lufthansa first class to somewhere I don't want to go, where I have to position to an airport that I don't want to go to a city I don't want to? But it is a redemption in Lufthansa first class.
And 8 hours in the first class terminal.
I'd have to be, it would be very on brand for you on that. We're really proud of what we've done. I know a lot of people are sometimes skeptical, the miles and points people, like, I hear this all the time. I love it when someone approaches me to say, well, it's my favorite line. Will I get anything out of this because I know everything already and I hate Vegas? So usually when somebody's
probably not.
If somebody says that to me, I literally say, honestly, I'm like, I hear there's an airport hotel in Chicago that has a great conference. I mean, that's which I love, which I encourage people to go to Chicago seminars, of course. And I know, when people approach it, I say, it's always the side conversations, and that's always brought up a lot with Chicago seminars, since it's the friendships. But this is such an eclectic, interesting group. But I'm going to leave you with this. There are things you learn from casino advantage players like Anthony Curtis, or things that you learn from casino loyalty that can be sort of parsed to the miles and points world, technique wise, or just things you would think about, maybe valuations, risk reward. You see, here's the thing I always say about miles and points people, and they've never done. I've done casino promotions where my team, when we were doing it, we were risking $10,000 to $15,000 on the chance that we knew means a high tolerance, not guarantee, but knew we were going to get back 30 to 50,000 from risking that 15. And we had done huge calculations on this and huge data points and stuff like that. I find that understanding that is so important, because like when you look at the miles and points people who've gotten burned with gift card stuff, or that like other exercise stuff or other crazy things through manufactured spend, and I hear those stories, I say, you don't understand how to analyze risk. You don't understand risk. What you just did by giving $10,000 worth of gift cards to this company that says they're going to pay you for them. Like, do you understand how to analyze risk? Do you realize how risky what you did there was, or when you got like that kind of thing? So that's so important for manufactured spend and for reselling, like understanding like risk. And I find like miles and points people are just so naive with all of these things that I've heard of mishaps with manufactured spend and things like that, a casino AP would never do, because it'd be like, are you stupid? That's like 70% risky and 30% safe. How could you do that? And this is what I mean. And maybe not even this example, but this is what I mean about the things you learn from other people. And that's what casino advantage players do. That's what people who optimize comps do, and that kind of thing. You're analyzing like, what is the risk here? Because in the casino world, it's even harder than the miles and points world, because a miles and points promotion, everything is codified. In most casino promotions, everything isn't codified. So we're doing this and this and this because we believe we're going to get this. But we believe based on 90%, and 90% is safe enough to believe that's going to happen. So I would say when somebody got burned and lost $20,000 in a gift card thing, did they do an analysis beforehand? What is the chance I'll get burned here? And they didn't. Why? It's $20,000. So, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. But anyway, that's the kind of thing. Like, it's just learning process, and also meeting interesting people, and then also now learning the casino stuff to get cruises and to get status and to understand all those kind of things is really good. Also, now the ability to do things like manufacture MGM Gold status. So MGM's just come out with a new credit card Would it make sense to get that credit card? Well, that's a conversation. But then would it make sense to get that credit card and manufacture gold or platinum status via, online MGM stuff? Maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, it's an interesting example because you can do it playing more than 99% games like blackjack. So there's all kinds of interesting crossover stuff here. So I hope that gets people thinking sometimes when they think like, oh, they're not just going to. Yes, it's true. Like we won't necessarily go as deep. And also like, a lot of stuff that we do, like Gary Left's session last year is like, where are we going? What are the most important things to think about? One of the most valuable things is to make you think about things that you haven't thought about. So then you can think a little differently and learn different things and figure out new things. I'm always looking at that. I'm always testing things. Like, what if I click this link for American Airlines to do this status, but I signed into this account and then I do this? Or what I do, it all comes from the casino world. Like why, like things that I would do. So I think there's a lot of value. I just would say there's a lot of value there, but it's hard to, it's hard to codify. It's hard for me to put that in writing for you.
Well, and the funny thing about the casino world and just gaming in general is there's so much more of a mystique. And there's so much more that is not, as you said, codified. It's all kind of behind the scenes. And the only way you're going to get something demystified like that is to talk to the players that actually have that experience. And that's what you're going to get access to. Because, I know from the outside, it's very hard to break in and understand these, intentionally obscure programs, right? They're not going to always lay it out for you in black and white. They want you to not necessarily know exactly where the goalposts are, right? Isn't that kind of a strategy you find quite frequently in casino gambling world?
And especially with table games, trying to figure out the earnings for different places. Like, would you believe that, the comp earnings at Craps and the tier earnings at Craps at Encore Boston Harbor is totally a different algorithm than it is in Vegas. So it's totally different, even though it's the same company. And then on top of it, you have other things you test. And actually, my brother-in-law, who was just here for Passover, who I've known since he's my wife's younger brother, which doesn't make him that young because we're not that young anymore. But I know him since he's like 16 years old. He's just like the ultimate computer geek. He's always been that way. And he still is. And and now his like big thing is like coding apps for the iPhone, which he like sort of does while sleeping, which I'm like, how do you do this? But I came up with this idea for an app that's going to be targeted on like tracking loyalty aspects of gambling. And we're going to develop it and he'll be able to throw the thing together. And it's just stupid when people are so good at that stuff. But the whole thing is like, a lot of things with tracking, like when I go and go up to a table game at Wynn, because that's the only one I really do. I track how many tier points did I have when I got to the table? What was my buy-in? I want to know the minimum and maximum bet for the table just because that's stuff that I want to do. Then I need to calculate in my head as I'm going what my actual average bet is. Then I have to calculate what they wind up rating me at the end is my hustled average bet because I always hustle a better rating than what my actual rating is. So I have in my head what my actual rating was that the pit boss told me, what I believe, what my rating is in a computer, what my actual rating is, my starting tier points, my ending tier points, how long I played for. And then I have all of that data and I say, how many tier points did I earn, in this session based on this average bet on this table game? Okay, that's fine. But then like other weird things can happen sometimes is like the earning rate will be like this linear kind of thing. But then all of a sudden, if you get up to like average bets of like $400, $500, $600, the earning rate starts to rise much faster. So like say you're earning 100 tier points per $100, or per $50, you're earning 50 tier points per hour. But then if your average jumps above 500, you're earning at a different rate. It's very, but the things you need to test and track. Everyone that I would know, I know people who've retired from being Advantage players. All they did is they're always testing. Testing this machine, seeing what the theo is, figuring out the theoretical, seeing what they earn, testing that. Oh, wait, that's misaligned. That doesn't make sense. Oh, that's better. Like all gambling games pay based on theoretical. What's theoretical is the theoretical win for the casino. Well, a slot machine, a theoretical win might be set at like 10%. But what if you have a multi-game machine that happens to have video poker and Keno and slots? Well, a lot of times they'll wind up blending that that theoretical. And if you can play the good video poker, you'll get the better theoretical. But you only know this stuff from testing it. They used to do this thing where I found a loophole at Bally's Atlantic City with they had a single zero roulette, which was a machine, a video machine. It wasn't the one where the ball spins, but just the big one, big vertical one. And it was single zero. Great. Single zero roulette is beautiful. Well, yes, zero roulette has like a house edge of like 2% or something like that. But they were shorting you on the inside numbers. So they weren't paying you the right odds on the inside numbers. So they were shorting you if you were paying numbers straight up or whatever. But if you just played red and black, you obviously had the right odds for the single zero, but they were shorting you. So if you hit the number 8, you were shorted, whatever. What is roulette? 37 or 36 or 36?
36
okay, so they were doing, so now I know it's 36. They were doing 35. So they were paying 35. So they were shorting you on the inside numbers. But if you didn't play the inside numbers, since it was single zero roulette, that was good. Well, here's the thing. The Theo for the machine, if it was a true single zero roulette machine, the Theo would have only been like 2%. But because of the shorting on the inside, they were paying a Theo of like 5.5%. So you could offset bets on the outside. You could just bet red and black. And
I love the arbitrage plays. Basically,
only lose when the zero comes up. But it was kicking off a Theo of close to 6%. So then you could seed the tier points and get a ton of tier points. And then those tier points would trigger $2,000 a week in free play. So think, but how do you know this? You know it through testing. So you knew that this machine is probably having something weird with Theo, but you don't know until you test it and then you do it. But these are all the, and
the
honestly,
same thought process as your gift card resellers who are doing their arbitrage, right? It's all math. It's just a different flavor.
Yeah. Or think about and look at I think one thing we didn't get to address, which I love to address, and you were saying about American Airlines and upgrades and all of that. And really, I know I have huge biases, and I'm sort of a Win fanboy, and believe it or not, I'm an American Airlines fanboy, because I think some of the things they're doing with tech is really, really good. But I do think American Airlines does offer the most compelling program. I think the overall package of what American Airlines does, because people do get upgraded, not as much as you used to, but I just think Delta and United aren't there. As far as my huge conversations with people, I think ConciergeKey blows away global services and Delta 360 for a number of reasons. That could be an entire episode. I also think what AA is doing now with their tech, have you seen what happens when they misdeliver a bag now on AA?
You trust a bag with AA?
Well, coming back from ZorkFest, my bag flight left Vegas very, very late, got into Charlotte. Connection was 20 minutes, 15 minutes. The bag didn't make it. Upon landing in PBI, boom, the app backs up. Your bags didn't make it. Would you like them delivered to your home? Filled it all out on the app. Bing, went straight out.
That is a very good feature. That is a very good feature.
So I think they're doing good stuff with tech. I also think what they're doing with the upgrades and the way their app works and a lot of that kind of stuff. And also with the way they're listing system-wide upgrades now on the website. I think they're doing a lot of things right. I mean, I think they're obviously doing it to save money, but I mean, it's good, so.
Well, I think they're in a different position. I mean, they're kind of the third place carrier right now compared to Delta and United. And I think what that means for us from a customer perspective is they got to try harder, right?
And they seem to be. And now that the union contracts have been solved, also, their new in-flight French fries are very good. And I don't know if you saw, I was quoted in Bloomberg recently, because media only comes to me for the most important things. Literally, I almost fell on the floor. I get a LinkedIn message from somebody at Bloomberg saying, so we saw on social media you recently tried the new French fry. It's on American Airlines, and we really wanted to get your opinion on it.
World-renowned French fry connoisseur, Michael Trager.
It's a great article, though.
Oh, we'll have to see if we can get that one.
It's absolutely hysterical. But you know what? I had a rock star flight attendant who heated the nuts warmer than I've ever been heated before, but I got the new sliders because they have these new premium meals that came out in January. I highly suggest. So they have sliders and French fries now. And the sliders, he heated them up, everything up so hot, and the sliders are so buttery and greasy. And then they put the fries in there. And they actually were really crispy. And then between the buttery, greasy bun and everything, it like just sort of worked. Like if you didn't have a heart attack afterwards, it absolutely worked. But American Airlines developed a container because I saw them on my second flight. I ordered fries because I had to test it again. And you can only do this if you can pre-order because it's these new premium meals that you can only pre-order. So you have to clear the upgrade more than 24 hours in advance or be in first class. They have a little container with little holes in it that they heat the fries in so that they vent properly when they're heating. This is an amazing, cool, it's such a geeky, cool thing. But I shared a bunch of pictures of it, but I was thrilled. And they give a bunch of condiments. They give mustard, mayo, and ketchup, real Heinz ketchup. I mean,
you're making me hungry, Michael. You're making me hungry.
I know. Anyway, these sliders were the worst junk food in the world, but they were just so good because they were just so perfectly hot and greasy. It was
sounds like they're turning the convection ovens in the airline into little air fryers.
Yeah, exactly.
It does sound
exactly
like that,
because they have holes in the thing. Yep. Anyway, so that's like I said, I only get media requests about really important issues. And
Well, Michael, I don't know how we can go further up from there. So I think that's where we have to leave it.
There's nowhere to go once you hit the French fries.
Fry connoisseur. That is the pinnacle.
Exactly.
So other than the Bloomberg article, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on all social media at TravelZork, except the Blue Sky has TravelZork, however they do it on Blue Sky. But everything is at TravelZork on Instagram, on X, Facebook. We have a wonderful Facebook group, which is TravelZork ZorkCast Facebook group. You can find my podcast, which is Yo11 Podcast by ZorkCast. You can find that on Spotify. You can also find the video version on YouTube. We drop approximately 2 podcasts a week, except in some weeks where we have other things going on. They're short podcasts. Don't worry. I won't keep you long like we do tonight. And also I have a bunch of other Facebook groups. I have a British Airways Elite Facebook group, the first one that was created. And I'm also really leaning into this new Hyatt Privé Deals Facebook group because so many people are always complaining they don't know about the different Privé deals that are out there. So I'm starting to add a lot more contact. So we have this Hyatt Privé Deals group. I also have a Cunard Queens group, which is really great because I love ocean liners. Oh, I could speak about that forever, especially the Queen Mary 2, the only ocean liner left in the world, best car lounge at sea. And I am about to start a new Facebook group because why not? Because I need something else to do, which is just about luxury travel deals, which I think is sort of lacking out there. So it's basically just going to be different deals that are out there. And it could be cruises, it could be other things, but some of it will be more esoteric stuff as I come across. I just wanted a place. I come across these deals every single day and I don't know where to post them. And I thought the TravelZork Facebook group is more about gaming and loyalty and stuff like that. And I didn't want to fill the feed up with these. So I just sort of thought that this is going to be a place I can just put all these deals, which won't annoy people. If they want to see these deals, they can see it in that Facebook group. Because I think sometimes you do need to separate things because not everybody wants to see everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's...
You've got to have the niches. And we hope that our invites are forthcoming when it's set up.
I feel my doom scrolling getting even longer very soon.
No, that's great. Thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you for all the kind words about ZorkFest.
Well deserved, though. Well deserved. I mean, you should be a proud papa for the wonderful baby that you put together every year.
Yeah, no, I am actually. I'm like, wow, we keep doing this, but it does get easier. And this year, the hotel is just a gem to work with, and the casino has been. And the fact that we've contracted this, I wanted to contract it even earlier than this. It's April 17th, and this is on December 2nd. And I've got everything in writing and even the private gaming all set, which is wonderful because now I can work on content and surprises. Because it's also, that's rodeo week in Vegas. So we're going to try to pull some rodeos.
That's right.
So we're going to try to pull some. So we're going to try to pull some rodeo stuff into it. So I think that'll be wear your cowboy hat. Anyway,
but the attire during rodeo week is so different than your usual Vegas weekend. So it'll be fun to see.
Cowboys at the craps tables. And I will say, most people that I know, I enjoy our rather intense Facebook conversations. They're very, very nice. I think they're really good. I think we have like this open and honest kind of thing. You allow me to bitch to you about things too much, and you always try to be the voice of reason, which I like. It's very sweet. It's very nice. You're like, whoa!
I'm cursed with the ability to see multiple sides of most arguments, for better or for worse.
No, you are. But I really do. Actually, I was thinking it before, like when I share with you and we have conversations, I feel another person I do that with a lot is like Dave Grossman. I think we do see different, like we get it. Like we know all the stuff already. So now it's like refining the stuff and understanding how it works in people's lives and things like that. And I think that actually is a skill that just comes after years of wisdom, and that kind of thing, right? Because, it's just like when you go to a Facebook group and you see someone new and excited who's been doing this and is like, you're like, oh my God, when is this person going to... It's like, it is nice because that is something that I'm always trying to think about in order to reach more people. It's not about doing the 100%. It's about doing what works for you, because even award travel, even if you only get 25% goodness out of it, that's 25% more than you were getting before. And maybe that's all somebody has the bandwidth for. And that's okay. Right?
Might be the right okay. 25%.
Yeah. That 25% could be life-changing for them. And that's an incredible thing. And to be able to help in doing that is just an incredible gift.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that's a really great way to look at it. And I try to be, because once again, growing up on Flyer Talk, it's like when I went to camp. I went to Atari computer camp one year in the 80s. So what do you surround? It was Is
that where the accent comes from? Was that from Atari computer camp?
There was nothing more wonderful than Atari computer camp. It was the first time in my life where I ever showed up somewhere and I said, "These are my people." These are really my people.
I think you will feel that way at ZorkFest.
Yes. Also, it was the first time in my life where I was one of the more athletic guys there. I was like, yes. Every other sleepaway camp, I was the last one picked for the team, everything. All of a sudden, Atari computer camp, I was like, wow, I've got the goods here. And with that, I will leave.
Well, it is always a pleasure. It is truly always a pleasure talking to you, Michael, whether it's just, Facebook Messenger or having you on the podcast. We really appreciate, nearly a 2-hour podcast tonight. Really appreciate you coming on. Really excited for ZorkFest and just really appreciate the banter. It's always just a true pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's the show. We hope you enjoyed listening.
If you've enjoyed this episode, consider becoming a Milenomics Patreon member and get access to even more in-depth miles, points, and travel content.
Until then, we hope your next story is a travel story.